चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुवरं श्रीरूपानुगप्रवरं व्रजरासरसिकं चायनायतं सुवरं श्रीगुरुचरणं वन्दे रामरपृष्ठाय पुतले रूपानुगभक्तिरं च कृपामूर्तिनरायणं सेवाकुञ्जे ब्रजे रम्ये गोवर्धने गिरौ सदा राधाकुञ्जे रसानन्दे तत्तत्सेवप्रदायकम् Guru Narayanakam Tang Vande Vinodapristakam Yatpadasmitimatrena Amudara Mahavarandaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namde Gaura Krishna Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Vande Jagatate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustate Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Swasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I offer my obeisances countless times to my most worshipful Guru Pada Padma Paramaharadattam Guru Shriman Bhaktivinoda Narayan Swamaraj Shri Gurudev, likewise into the entire Rupa Nuga Gaudiya Guru Varga and all assembled devotees, please accept my pranams. So we've been studying the Bhagavad Gita, the commentaries of Srila Swami Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. So we'll continue today. We'll try to cover more ground today. We spent a few classes talking about Arjuna's questions and different symptoms of the sadhus. Stita pragyasa kabasa samadhistasya keshava stita diking pravaseta king asita brajeta kim. So Arjuna asked questions because he heard many verses about the nature of a person who is established in Buddhi Yoga. Krishna described first Sankhya Yoga, Atma Tattva, and then Buddhi Yoga, ending with this idea that Yirate Moha Kalilam Buddhir Vyatita Risiti Dragantasi Nirvedyam Shrutavesya Chujasya, how to cross beyond the forest of illusion and become detached from everything mundane, all kinds of mundane knowledge. So Arjuna asked, what are the symptoms of someone who is thus sthita pragya, thus fixed in spiritual knowledge? And we had a few classes where we talked about these different symptoms according to the symptoms of a sadhu. But when Krishna, there are two kinds of symptoms, the external symptoms and the internal symptoms. This can be understood to be like the Swarup Lakshan and Tatashta Lakshan. So Krishna focused on the intrinsic characteristic or Swarup Lakshan. And Krishna spoke 18 verses after this question of Arjuna, which is verse 54 of the second chapter. So then from verse 55 to verse 72, which is 18 verses, Krishna gave his different responses. So first Krishna said, Prajahatiya rakaman sarvan pardha manogatan atmanyavat manatustas tista pragyastaduchyate. That one who is freed from all kam, material lust or sense desires, which arise from the mind, and who is satisfied in the self alone, that person is the Pragya stage. The other day when we were having our sloka class with the boys, we talked about the difference between Lord Brahma and Haridas Thakur. How Brahma, even though he was such a great personality and was engaged in doing dharma, tapa, yajna, and so forth, still he became attracted towards his creation. What was that? He had his daughter in the form of a deer. He became lusty after, and he took the form of a stag and chased after her. So he was not free of Prajahati Adakaman, even though he is showing this for us as an example, that only doing the external activities, tapa, vrata, dan, punya, if we don't have Krishna consciousness while doing these things, then still our minds will be pulled away towards the objects of the senses, and that's what Krishna will describe in these verses. And on the other hand, we have Haridas Thakur, who he was constantly chanting Harinam, and therefore it is said, even when the prostitute came late at night and tried to enamor him, he was not disturbed at all. That we see on one hand, Brahma became attracted to his creation, even though she was not coming to try to enamor him. And on the other hand, Haridas Thakur was completely equipoised, even though this prostitute was very attractive and was offering herself to him. Because he was constantly absorbed in the bliss of chanting Harinam, he had not even the slightest tinge of attraction nor aversion. It said he had neither attraction or aversion, neither enmity or malice or attachment. So therefore, we heard that what is the nature of someone who is the topmost Aryan. Ho batas vapachato guriya nyajdivagrivarte nama tubhyam te pustavaste juhusasnu arya brahmana trunama granantiyete. That a person who is constantly engaged in chanting the holy names of the Lord, wherever he may have taken birth, whether he was born in the family of dog-eaters, he is still the topmost Aryan, Sasnur Arya. But someone who is doing tapa, dhyan, dan, and all other kinds of yoga and karma activities, if they don't have this one-pointed devotion for Krishna, then they are not real Arya. Material people think that this is only about some kind of high birth or high status. Like, oh, I was born as a Brahmin. It's only skin deep. They don't understand the nature of the soul. They're only attached to external skin and so forth. And it said that people who have this jati buddhi towards Vaishnavas will be residents in hell. That Vaishnave jati buddhir Vishnu cha Vaishnave, that this verse is given, that those who think Guru is mundane, those who think of Vaishnavas according to their so-called jat, they will be residents of hell. They already are like that. They're in the hell of their mundane attachments. So, how can we be free of these kamanas? Only by offering all our desires in the service of Sri Krishna, in loving relationship with Sri Krishna. That's the only way to become free of this kam. So the next verse is Dukeshvara digna manas sukeshu vigataspriya vitaraga vakrodas titatir munir uchite. That someone who is Dukeshvara digna manaha, equipoised both in happiness and distress, whether bad things are happening to us or good things are happening to us, either way we are equipoised and neutral. We aren't disturbed when we are suffering, neither are we elated when we are very happy, like when the situation is very good. We're not dancing in joy thinking, oh, now my life is successful, now I'm happy, oh, now there's ice cream every day. And then we're very happy. But then, oh, when we have to struggle a little bit, then we're disturbed. So Stita Pragya sage is someone who is free of both of these different kinds of sprihas. And then Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha means they're free of mundane attachment as well as free of mundane fear and anger. So the example of this is Prahlad Maharaj. That's why Lord Brahma, when he saw that he was having difficulty controlling his senses, even though he was doing so many different activities, then he thought, I must take shelter of Prahlad Maharaj. Because Prahlad, even though he was in the most difficult kinds of circumstances, he was always Krishna conscious. He worshipped Krishna. That's why he said, Matirna Krishna Padatasvadova. Matirna Krishna means those whose minds are not absorbed in Sri Krishna, they can never be free of these mundane desires and disturbances. So Brahma took shelter of Prahlad, his own grandson, and prayed to him, I want to come in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. He knew Mahaprabhu was coming, so I want to come under your anugatya, with your shelter. And therefore they came together in a combined form. It is said that Jiva Tattva is such a thing that in the transcendental personalities of the Lord, different jivas can also take part in the pastimes through one body. That's why Brahma Haridas, he was Lord Brahma, but along with Prahlad Maharaj. Why Brahma prayed to Prahlad, please come with me. The body is like a home. There are many jivas in the body. Many bacteria, many worms, many souls, millions of souls. And some souls are like the kings or the agents, who are who are pushing the body forward into different activities. But also the other souls can agitate the mind or cause us to act in different directions according to their desires. That we think, I'm acting according to my own will, but like for example, if you have candida, this gut bacteria disease, then you're always craving fat food and sugars, and you think that's my desire. I want to eat this, I want to eat that. But really, it's their desire. So anyhow, many jivas are living in our body, and through always taking prasad and following bhakti yoga, then they become purified. So that can also be on the transcendental plane. It said that sadh and siddha bhaktas can also enter and participate in the pastimes and be trained up and serve in the pastimes of the Lord by taking shelter of the associates of the Lord. So it's a very interesting kind of mystery. So anyhow, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, we saw that Prahlad Maharaj, why did Brahma take shelter of Prahlad Maharaj? He saw that even though he was given so many kinds of tortures from his father, he was always free of fear. He never had hatred towards his father, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, and he was never angry towards his father, even though his father was torturing him and trying to kill him in so many ways. He was Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. He had no attachment to his body. He was, okay, if Krishna Mare Krishna Rake Krishna Mare if Krishna wants to kill me, no one can save me. If Krishna wants to save me, no one can kill me. Then why should I be worried about my own welfare? He said, this is Sharanagati. Gopitve Varanang Tata Atmanik Shepe Karapanya. And that we always have this faith, Krishna is my maintainer and protector and guardian. So we don't have any worry for our own maintenance. So Prahlad Maharaj was such a surrendered soul that he was all completely free of Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. He wasn't afraid on one hand, and he also wasn't angry towards his father. Most people would become very angry, oh, my father is acting like this towards me. So Prahlad Maharaj is a great example of that. So then, the next verse is, Ya sarvatra nabhistinehas tattat prapya subhasubham nabhinandati natvesti tasya pragya pratishtita. That person is free of all kinds of affections and attachments for things in this world. Whether they are attaining anything which is so-called auspicious for them or inauspicious for them, they're always neutral. They do not welcome what is so-called materially auspicious, nor do they feel enmity for what is inauspicious or shubh ashubh. In Prabhupada's commentary, describes this to be the state of being beyond so-called good and evil, or what is good and bad. That in this world we're all attached to what is good for myself, my family, my country, my nation, and we think if someone is acting against our society, or if someone is acting in a way that's harmful to my family or myself, then that is evil, that is bad. But the Sthita Pragya sage is completely aloof from these things. They are situated in the transcendental reality, and they know everything in this world is just the mundane duality we're living in. You cannot avoid these things. It's just the fluctuations of the three gunas with the karma of the jivas. So what is good and bad? This is only ignorance. Otherwise, if we think, oh, any harm is coming to us, then that's evil and bad, then we end up blaming God for that. Oh, why has God allowed this to happen? This is God's fault. But we don't realize that this is only the interactions of the gunas with our karma, and they're manifesting according to our karma. This is my own fault. Gurudev said, with this verse, we should try to remember this verse that Mahaprabhu told us to pray. That you are ripe for liberation or fit for liberation when you become aloof from so-called good and bad in this world. And you tolerate all kinds of eventualities. Anything that's coming to you, you tolerate without blaming others, without blaming God, realizing this is only my karma. And when you are able to tolerate that without becoming angry or without becoming vengeful towards God or towards others, like someone does something bad to you, then you think, no, I need revenge. Then you go to act in vengeance, and then immediately you get sucked up into this karma cycle again and again. So we cannot stop the karmas or prarabdha karma from coming to us, but we can control our reaction. And how should we react? Always with Krishna consciousness. There's a story of a sadhu who is free of this shubh ashubh attachment. One time a sadhu was crossing a river on a boat with many people. And in the middle of crossing the river, a huge storm started, and the boat started to shake, and water started to come into the boat, and it was like it was going to capsize. And what did the sadhu do? Everyone else was trying to take out the water. But the sadhu started bringing in the water. You can imagine, there's a huge storm, and water was starting to fill up the boat, and there's 100 people in the boat. And everyone started to take out the water with their hands or whatever they had. And everyone was taking it out. 99% were taking it out, and then the sadhu, one was bringing it in. Everyone was yelling at him, why are you doing this, crazy pagal sadhu? But he was not listening to them, not disturbed, bringing the water in. Then what happened? After a short while, the storm abated, and the boat came near the shore, and everyone was feeling a little bit of okay, perhaps we'll be saved, but then they saw the sadhu start taking the water out. right as they were getting near the shore. And anyhow, they came to the shore of the river, the bank of the river, and they all came off the boat. And then someone asked, oh Baba, when we were about to die and the boat was filling up with water, you were bringing water in. And then when we were about to reach the shore, you started taking the water out. Why? He said, I saw that we were in the middle of the river and the storm came and I felt like God wanted us to perish at that time, so I thought I should serve God, I should help Him. Let me help bring the water in the boat. But then I saw, okay, the storm left, He decided He didn't want us to die, so I started serving Him and taking the water out. Normally people think, this is good for me, this is bad for me, and they act according to that. But the sadhu is aloof from this. If I leave today, what is the problem? If I leave tomorrow, what is the problem? Even the sadhus are in such a high state that they don't even want liberation for themselves. Prahlad Maharaj said, let me suffer for all time, and you liberate everyone else. When Nrsingadev said, oh, take a boon, he said, oh Lord, I don't want a boon, I'm not a businessman. That I worshipped you only for some remuneration. So he said, no, take a boon, okay, give me that boon that everyone else should be liberated and I can suffer for their sins. Nrsingadev said, how can I do that? Haridas Thakur also prayed like that. So the devotees have such a prayerful mood. They don't think about their own so-called material gain or loss. They're always aloof from that. So, Tattat prapya subhashubham na abhinandati na dvestitasya pragya pratishtita. Then the next verse is, Yada sangharate chayam kurmanganiva sadhasa indriyandriyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita. That then it is described what is the nature of a stita pragya stage. The main thing is that the senses are naturally attracted towards the objects of the senses. Prahlad Maharaj says in his teachings to the students of the sons of the demons that when you're in the body, the different senses are like different wives. And they're always trying to pull you in different directions to enjoy with them. Like if you're a man and you have 5, 6 wives, and they're all very lusty and they always want to enjoy day and night. And they each have a different room and they're always pulling you towards the room to enjoy with you. So Prahlad Maharaj said the senses are like that the eyes are pulling you towards seeing attractive things, the ears towards hearing pleasing sounds, the nose towards smelling fragrant things, you want to touch soft or things which give you enjoyment, or you want to taste very nice food. So the senses are always pulling you in different directions, and that's like also described in the Gita to be like, or in the Upanishads, to be like many horses, but they're wild horses, and they're running in all these different directions, and you're just the helpless passenger. So that's why we want to make Krishna our charioteer, or Guru and Vaishnavas our charioteer, our leader. And then they can take us in the proper direction. So it said, how can we try to resist this pulling of the senses towards their objects? It's natural, it's like the force of gravity. How do you stop the force of gravity? It's not so easy, it's very difficult. It's like the entire universe is going in one direction. You want to go in the other direction. The entire universe, all the living entities are satisfying their sense desires and running after sense objects. And this is the purpose of their life. You see all societies, they're trying to create good economic positions so they can enjoy more. It's all based on dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But mostly only artha and kama. You see, mundane society, they got rid of dharma and they got rid of moksha, and now it's just kama and artha and kama. Artha means economic development, so you can satisfy your mundane desires, kama. Before, in like the Vedic age, or in a proper religious society, then they followed dharma, proper religious activities. Then through that, then they develop artha, or a good, prosperous society. And Krishna says you can do this, because if you don't have bhakti, then you have to follow some kind of rules and regulations in dharma. It is said that anat bhavanti bhutani parjanya yagya sambhava yagya, that Krishna says, I am yagya bhoktaram yagya tapasam, and I am the enjoyer of the yagyas, and by offering yagya to me or performing dharma for me, then I will make your society very prosperous. And it said those societies who are against God, they will ultimately wither and perish. So, but nowadays people give up dharma and give up moksha, and the only purpose of life is to gain as much wealth as possible, or to gain as nice of a situation in this world as possible, so that you can enjoy as much as possible. And all living entities are doing like this. We see animals are only following artha and kama. But humankind has the ability to follow dharma and moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. There are animals, they trying to have a nice nest, have a good, little facility. You can look at beavers, they make a dam on the river. Birds, they make a nest, they'll go and fly here and there all day collecting twigs and fur and hair even, and making a nest. And then they make their nest, then they find a mate, then they have children, and then all day and night they're collecting food for them, for themselves and for their children. And what's the difference between these animals and human beings? Same thing, we take birth, we start getting education so we can learn how to make a nice home, a nice nest. Then we look for, why do we need a nice home? Because without a nice home, how can you get a nice mate? They need somewhere to live also. Where are you going to have your kids and how are they going to be protected? They need some shelter. And then once we have that, then before you're married, you can live very simply. You don't have to work day and night to maintain yourself. But once you have a family, then you have to work very hard to maintain your children, maintain your family members. And that's okay. That's your dharma, grihastha dharma. That's one ashram. But we should try to reduce our mundane necessities instead of increasing them. Guruji would say, once someone said, oh, before it was like one person could maintain the whole family. Not everyone in the family had to work. Now, the mother works, the father works, and the children work. And they think now we're more prosperous because we're working day and night like slaves. Before, one person would work, or two people would work, and the rest of the family would be engaged in spiritual pursuits or in like society, in activities helpful to society. Now everyone thinks the purpose of life is, oh, in the weekend we can drink and party, and all week we all have to slave away in some different company or factory. So therefore, Krishna said, Yada sangharate chayam kurmanga nivasarasa indriyandriyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtha. Someone who is pragya pratishtha, firmly fixed in steady intelligence, is a real sage. Then what can they do? They have this power that when they can withdraw their senses from the object of the senses, just like a tortoise will withdraw its limbs within its shell. When danger comes to a tortoise, then it pulls its head in, and pulls its arms and legs in, and hides under its shell. So similarly, in the life of a sadhu, we see like this. It's said that the path of spiritual life is sharp like a razor's edge. So if we want to go upon this path without falling off, we have to be very careful. So these are different kind of skills we need to develop. And Krishna said, you should become like this. Therefore, we worship also Kurmadev. And when they were excavating one of the Bhakti Kuti, or the Bhakti Bhavan of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then they found a Kurma Diti. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave this to Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, and he also gave him the Kurma Mantra when he was a little boy. And he said, you chant this Kurma Mantra, then the senses will never be able to agitate you. Why? Even though these desires may come, or the objects of the senses, when they appear in front of the senses, then naturally attraction for them comes. But in a later verse, Krishna says that you do not attain peace by trying to always scratch the itch of your desires. Or trying to fulfill your desires is not the way to gain peace. He says in a later verse, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apa parivishanti advat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantim apnoti na kamakami. That if you want to obtain peace, then the way to obtain peace is not trying to always fulfill your material desires. He said, just like many rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean remains undisturbed. It does not overflow. Similarly, the mind of a steady-minded sage, the intelligence of a steady-minded sage is always like the ocean, tranquil, even though the desires will naturally flow into the senses, but they do not try to act upon them. Instead, they remain equipoised. And then, gradually, then they can attain shanti. It's a process. But we think, I'll be peaceful if I want this, or I have to do this. But these desires are endless, like, oh, now I want an iPhone. Okay, I get an iPhone, then I need to get a lot of good apps, and then friends, and then likes, and then shares, and then the desires are endless. So now I need a nice car, now I need a nice home, now if I could just have a good motorbike, if I could just go and travel to Paris, or to Spain, or I want to get a world ticket, I want to go and party in this place, this person doesn't like me, what can I do to make them like me? Then our desires are endless like that. But if you're always trying to fulfill your desires, then they'll just increase more and more and more and more and more. You'll never be peaceful by that. So therefore Krishna says that you should learn to become like the tortoise. That when the objects of the senses come around you, then you can withdraw your senses from the sense objects. And Prabhuji also describes this to be the nature of the sadhu. That sadhus will appear dumb before asat sangha. He said, we look at the example of Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat, in his previous life, he was Bharat Maharaj. He was the king of emperor of the world. And India's name, Bharat, came from Bharat Maharaj. So you can imagine how great of a ruler he was and how loved he was. But he gave up his kingdom and became a Vanaprast. Then when he was Vanaprast, what happened? He became attracted to a baby deer. And he thought, Prabhuji says, sometimes we think, I have to help everyone. But what happens? We don't know how to swim ourselves, and we go to save someone who's drowning, and we drown with them. We both drown with them together. So the story of Badamars, he was doing bhajan austerities, and then a deer gave birth to an infant while she was being chased by a tiger. And he saw this happen, and the deer gave up her life in the river, and he thought, oh, I have to protect this baby deer. He felt this sense of material duty, that this is the material compassion. But until we are situated on the transcendental platform, then we try to be compassionate towards everyone in this way, then end up only we become dragged down into the material affairs with them. So he became so attached to this deer that he was taking care of while he was doing his sadhana, smadana, meditation. The baby cub would always come and cuddle with him and try to get him to bed and feed him. And day and night it became, it was very sweet, very cute. And the nature of the senses, are they attached to the object of the senses? Anyone shows love and affection, and we become we think, oh, that's my family now. Buddha said, oh, we give up one family and we become tyagis, and then we make so many more. We give up one mother and father and we make so many more mothers and fathers, so many more material family members. Gurudev would be very strong about this point. He said, Guru is your father, Guru is your mother, Krishna is your Guru, mother and father, everything. You should have this mood of dedication to Guru and Krishna and Vaishnavas. That's your only family. And then, God brothers and God sisters, they're also bhaktas and sevaks, but your attachment is always up for Guru and Vaishnavas. So therefore, Jad Bharat, even though Badamars was at the state of bhav, but because of attachment to the deer, because of thinking of the deer at the time of death, then his next body became a deer. It's said in the Gita, in the 8th chapter, Yang yang bhavati swaram tajat tante kalevaram tantami vaiti kunti asratat bhavavita. That whatever you are meditating upon the time of death, you will attain a body according to that. So he attained the body of a deer. As a deer, then he had the mercy that because he achieved the state of bhav, he could remember his past life. If we're on a very low level of bhakti and we give up our lives thinking of a dog, we're dying and then our puppy comes into our bed and we embrace the puppy or the kitten and think, okay, at least I have you in my arms while I'm dying. The next life will become that. Is the nature of Krishna's Jagat. So Bharat became a deer, then he was always staying in the sadhu's ashram nearby, serving and taking some grass and living like that. His next body he became Jad Bharat. So why was his name Jad Bharat? He wasn't dumb, but Jad means dumb. But he put on this show so that no one would disturb him, and he could always be doing his meditation and bhajan. And his father would try to teach him how to do puja, yajna, this and that, but he wouldn't learn it. And we think, oh, why not? That's useful. Why not learn how to do yajna? Why not learn how to do the mantras, sandhya, bandhana? He wouldn't even do his anik. He would try to teach him how to chant the Gayatri mantras, and he would always do it backwards, forwards, in a strange way, acting completely like an idiot. Like a complete idiot. And his father had so much love and affection for him, but he was acting like a complete fool. And his father again and again would try to teach him. And then he had many brothers, and the brothers were always ragging on him and abusing him because they thought, oh, he's just like a dumb idiot. So that they were always acting very badly towards him. But he was always only absorbed in his internal bhajan, and meditated on Krishna with love. And therefore his father became so stressed out that he died very young. And then his brothers put him out in the field to maintain, they saw he's strong, he's a hard worker, so they put him out to guard over the fields at night from any wild animals. And this is also an example of Vitarag by Akroda. Some dacoits came and captured him, and they wanted to offer him as a sacrifice to Mata Kali. So they took him, they saw he was a nice, strong young man, so they took him and they were about to offer him to Bhadrakali. And then Bhadrakali herself appeared out of her murti and cut the heads of all those dacoits and started drinking their blood. Why? She saw, oh, he is such a great devotee, such a great sadhu. He himself is completely free of Vitarag by Akroda. If we are free of mundane fear and always absorbed in Sri Krishna, then Krishna will be thinking about us. Not even Krishna. That it said that person who is always absorbed in Krishna and serving Sri Krishna, they have nothing to worry about in this world. They'll always be protected. They don't have to think about their own maintenance and welfare. Krishna is always doing that for them. So even Krishna, it said that 330 million demigods will serve the devotee with folded hands. Even Moksha personified, Gyan personified, all these personified deities will always be praying, how can I serve you? And the sadhus will always be, at the same time, neutral and nirapeksha. They won't be attached to these things. So Jad Bharat was like that, and he was always aloof. So this was like the example of Yada Sanghadite Chayam Kurmanganiva Sarvasa. that in a bad association, oh, we are jad, we are inert, we are foolish. Prabhupada says the sadhu should be like that. Sometimes people come to Prabhupada and he just says, I don't know, I'm just a stupid idiot, I don't know anything, I'm foolish. I'm only like in the kitchen, I don't know how to do anything. And then when you're in sadhu sangha, good association, then they said, Yashasti bhaktir harava kinchana tra mahasate suraguna haro bhaktir nasati. That, for the Yashasti bhaktir bhagavate kinchana sarvatra gunais so mahasate sura harava bhakta sekuto mahadguna manodata nasati dhavato vahi. That said, all the good qualities of the demigods appear in the bodies of the devotees. All good qualities for those who have devotion. But those who are not devotees, even though they may have many qualities, these are just like ornaments on a corpse, ornaments on a dead body. And that's why Krishna says, Acharya mang vijaniya nam manyata karichet namartha buddha surita sarvadeva maya guru. All the demigods' divine qualities reside within the bodies of Guru and Vaishnavas who are Acharya. So they have all divine qualities, but then still in mundane association, they'll be dumb, illiterate, like Haridas, like Kokshalas Babaji Maharaj showed, he was not even externally literate. But all the Sastra resided in his body, was non-different from him. Why? Bhakta Bhagavat and Grantha Bhagavat are non-different. So in this way, we try to follow Yada Sangrati Chayam Kurmanganiva Sarva. So the next verse is, Vishaya vinivartate nirahara siddhinam raso varjang rasopyasva param drisva nivartate. So we may try to artificially restrain our senses, but still desire to enjoy the sense objects remains. So Krishna says, Vishaya vinivartate nirahara siddhinam. You try to do nirahara, which means don't try to enjoy the objects of the senses. But still the taste remains. And Krishna says in the 6th chapter, then that is mityachara. Mityachara se uchyate. That person who is showing externally be very renounced. But in his heart, always these desires are boiling and boiling and boiling. And like overflowing. Then Krishna says that the mityachara. Externally we're not doing anything, but internally these desires are overflowing in our heart. So, therefore Krishna advises you to develop the higher taste. So, even like we can try to be like the tortoise. When objects of the senses come before us, then we try to draw our senses within. Draw our limbs or our senses. But it's very difficult to get perfect in that. So Krishna says, look, better try to develop the higher taste. Then, how do you develop the higher taste? Krishna will describe that. But raso varjang rasopyasva means even though you give up tasting the different jadras, still the desire for that is remaining. So therefore, param drisvani vartate. Develop the higher taste in Krishna consciousness. The example of that is with Ambarish Maharaj. He engaged all his 11 senses in Krishna Bhakti, Savayamana Krishna Padara Vindayo, Vachansi Vaikuntha Gunana Vartane, Karo Harir Mandanar, Marjanadiso. What did he do? With his mind, he was always absorbed in meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna in Krishna Bhakti and Seva. With his hands, he was cleaning the temple. With his tongue, he was Vachansi Vaikuntha Gunana Vartane, he was glorifying Shri Krishna Vaikuntha, the divine abode. With his ears, he's hearing Harikata and Kirtan. With his mouth, speaking Harikata and singing Kirtan. With his limbs, he was like serving the bodies of the devotees, or even it said that Britya Gatra Sparsha Anga Sangamam. Engage the senses by serving or touching the bodies of the devotees. They said, Kamam, instead of being attached to the object of the senses, the Kama Dasya, instead of being the servant of the senses, then when you become the servant of Shri Krishna and all his Tadiya and Madhya Vastu, everything related to Krishna, then very quickly you become on the transcendental platform. It's a very easy process. And by doing this process, by practicing this process or following Abhyas Yoga, Krishna says in the 12th chapter, that at first it's very difficult to do this, so first try to follow Abhyas. Abhyas Yoga means start practicing. This is Vaidhi Bhakti. Start practicing. I still don't have the desire, I still don't have taste, but I'll practice. Rupa Goswami says in the 7th verse of Upadeshamrita, Shat Krishna Nama Chritari Sitapya Vidya Pitopatasya Rasinasya Narochikanu Kinpadarad and Rinam Kanushaiva Justa Sadvikravat Bhavatitad Karamula Hantri. That because of the jaundice of ignorance, we don't have taste for chanting Krishna's names. This Krishna's Naam is the most sweet of all sweet things. Krishna is sweet in all ways. Adaram Maduram, Varanam Maduram, Gamanam Maduram, Venu Maduram, Lila Madura, Gopi Madura, Gopa Madura, Gavo Madura. Everything is Madura with Krishna. Everything is sweet. But we do not realize the sweetness of Krishna because of our jaundice disease of ignorance. And when you have jaundice, sugarcane tastes very bitter and you don't want to eat it. But the way to cure jaundice is by taking the sugarcane. So by following Abhyas Yoga, then gradually the taste will awaken. That's why the next verse of Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami says, Tannama Rupa Charitari Sakirtana Nusmrityo Kramena Rasanama Nasinyo Jatistan Prajetan Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nedikilim Buddhi Upadesha Saram. the essence of all advice is engage your mind, body, senses, your speech, everything in absorption in Krishna's Tannam, Rup, Gun, Lila. How? Tistan Braje, while residing in the Dham. If you're not able to do it physically, then at least mentally reside in the Dham, and under the guidance of the Anuragi Jan. That Anuragi Jan Anugami, or the Brijbasi, or the Brijbasi Bhaktas, the Raganuga Bhaktas, or the Ragatmika Bhaktas, or the Rupanuga Bhaktas, under their guidance. So if you can stay Tistan Braje in their guidance directly, in the Dham, then that is the most beneficial. These are the 5 limbs of bhakti given by Rupa Goswami. He said, what is the 5 limbs? Bhagavat Shravan, always be taking shelter of hearing the Bhagavat and Granthas. Mathura Vas, residing in the Dham. Srimurti Shraddha Sivan, serving the deity with faith. And residing in Sadhu Sangha. And then Pratishta Basatistale. Yes. And then what was the 5th one?
Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan
Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, Shraddha Srimurti Sivan. Yes. How to start again? Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, Shraddhaya, Srimurti Sevan. These 5 things. So if we can stay in the Dham, that's most beneficial. And if we can't stay in the Dham, then we do it in the mind. But the most important thing is Sadhu Sangha. Even if we're outside of the Dham, but we maintain some Sadhu Sangha, then this will bring us towards the Dham eventually. So this is the process of Abhyas. Try to gradually follow, and then gradually this will go away. The disease of ignorance, and you'll develop taste. It said, Bhaktir Parishanubhavo Viraktiranyatra. That when you eat, then naturally your hunger is mitigated, you get some strength, you experience some nice taste from that. So when we follow Bhakti Yoga, gradually material desires will diminish, we'll get some spiritual bhal, and we'll develop some taste for it. So this is the process. Krishna said at first you cannot be absorbed like Manmana Bhava Madbhakto. At first it's not so easy to be Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, fully absorbed in Krishna with love and devotion. So therefore you follow the process. Krishna gives a gradual process. He says, oh, you can't do Manmana Bhava? Then Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. Mamnas Guru, offer pranam to me, show some respect and honor. And then gradually you can follow the process. This is called Abhyas Yoga. So Krishna advises this. So then Krishna said, Yatata api kunteya purushasya vipaschita indriyani pramatini haranti prasamangmana. That the senses are so strong that they can steal away one's intelligence. Even if you are doing such difficult sadhana, yoga, bhajan, everything, but the senses are so strong they can pull away the mind of even someone who's engaged in great austerities. Haranti prasabangmana. They forcibly pull you away. That's why, like, oh, I'm just going to be a tortoise. I'm going to practice being a tortoise. Practice pulling my senses in. I'm going to live in such a situation while I'm always surrounded by material temptations. And we think I'll be able to transcend that. But that's not what we advise. That's what our acharyas advise. Why? The senses are so strong that they can forcibly pull you away. Like, you think, I'm very strong, but if 10, 20 very strong people come, like muscle bodybuilders, and they try to drag you somewhere, then how are you going to resist? I'm very strong, I'm going to do push-ups and pull-ups, thousands, and I'll be so strong, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, You'll be so strong, but then if 10 people come who are the same, or stronger than that, then how are you going to resist? And I said, each of the senses is so strong, it is like, like the Hulk. You think I'm so strong, but then if one of the senses come, like, the Hulk, then it's going to forcibly drag you away. What are you going to do then? So that's why I said, that's why Krishna tells the process, that's what we're going to hear forward, how to resist that situation. It's said that the example is given of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was performing austerities in the Himalayas, doing yajna, samadhi yoga for thousands of years, but then he was becoming very powerful, so the Devas thought, oh, we should send some kind of test. So they sent Menaka. She was like the most beautiful Apsara in heaven, the most beautiful heavenly damsel. And he was closing his eyes, doing samadhi, and she started coming, walking very sweetly, but his eyes were closed, so she thought, okay, what should I do? They wear the nice ankle bells, and it's like, jingle, jingle, jingle. And he was like, Baba. So they attacked one sense, the sense of sound, the sense of hearing. And then what was the next one? They put on so many nice perfumes. And also the heavenly goddesses are automatically, they have such a wonderful fragrance. So then he started to smell. Then, so this is like the different objects of the senses started to drag away his mind. Even though he'd been doing, you can imagine, fasting. That's why I said, we think, I'm very disturbed, I'm very agitated, I won't eat anything, I'll fast. But we see Vishwamitra Rishi, he was not eating anything. He was doing samadhi for thousands of years, fasting, not doing anything. But Bas, just hearing the tinkling of Menika's ankle bells, smelling her fragrance, then, and then she was walking nearby, then what next? She said a few words, help me, look at me. Then he opened his eyes once, and then Bas, come. Then Bas, she pulled him down. And then again, thousands of years, he said, Vishwamitra, if you hear his full history, it's very interesting. So many different times he performed difficult austerities. He before was a king, but he wanted to become a Maharshi or Rajarshi because he was envious of Vashishta Rishi. And he did thousands and thousands of years of austerity to try to reach a high state, and then he would fall down. And then he would do it again. Thousands and thousands of years, and then he would fall down again because of some sort of infraction or mistake. So therefore, better that we follow the process of Bhakti Yoga. He was doing like Hatha Yoga. It means by force. And only for a material position. Vaishnavas call this Hatha Yoga. I will do it by force. But what is your motive? Why are you doing it? Better that you perform Bhakti Yoga. Krishna says in Bhakti Yoga, even if you follow a little bit of Bhakti Yoga, it is akshay, it is infallible. It will always stay with you. Even if you follow a little bit of this Bhakti Yoga dharma, then it will free you of great fear. So, if you're doing your own independent processes, Hatha Yoga, Kriya Yoga, this Yoga, that Yoga, Astanga Yoga, then it has no power compared to Bhakti. This is material. Bhakti is transcendental nirgun. So therefore we should follow Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, if we try to do like Vishwamitra Rishi, then just when the Menika comes, then why? Because you do strong austerities, then the Devas become envious. And they think, they may try to usurp my position. If you do very powerful austerities, you can get the position of Indra. Even more, Brahma, Shiva. Said that if you do 100 lifetimes of Varnashram Dharma properly, you can get the position of Brahma. And if you live properly as Brahma a whole lifetime, then you can become Shiva. And you can also become like Indra. So they're envious, so they send some kind of obstacle. But if you're following Bhakti Yoga, you'll never be disturbed. Like Haridas Thakur, constantly chanting Harinam, then when Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada says in his Upadeshavali, we think, I'm always doing Nama Parada, I have so many mundane desires, what should I do? So he says, you do not be worried about the fact that your mind is very agitated when you're chanting Harinam. He said, continue to chant, even though you're making aparad, even though you know this. But try to sincerely continue to chant in sadhu sangha, and this will gradually go away. But follow the process. Follow Bhakti Yoga, don't think, I'll do this, I'll do that. So then, Krishna says, verse 61, Tani sarvani sangyamya yukta asita matpara vasehi sandriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. Therefore, how can you subdue the material senses? This is explained right in this verse. Only by Bhakti Yoga. Yukta asita matpara. Only by Yukta means like yoga, connection. Only by Bhakti Yoga or connection to Krishna and his devotees can you control the material senses. Otherwise it's impossible. So he said, Tani sarvani samyaya yukta asita matpara. Only when each and every one of the senses is engaged in Bhakti Yoga, in Krishna Bhakti, then alone can you conquer over the mundane senses. So how do you engage all the senses in Krishna Bhakti? We heard like Ambarish Maharaj engaged all the senses. But the topmost example of engaging all the senses is none other than the Brajagopis. Only the Brajagopis can engage the Ekadas Indriya, the 11 senses, fully in Krishna Bhakti 24 hours a day. And that's why we see those who are in the line of the Gopis are also the greatest Goswamis. Those who are themselves the Gopis in Krishna Lila apparently are the Goswamis in Mahaprabhu's pastime, in this world. And Goswami means those who are in full control of their senses. How are they in full control of their senses? Only because those senses are constantly engaged in the cultivation of Krishna Bhakti. Anyavilashta shunyam jnana karma dhyanavigram anukulena krishnanushilanam bhakti ruttama. That is topmost devotion, that with giving up all other desires, all material desires, any other motive, and you're performing bhakti that's not covered by gyan, material knowledge, or even any kind of gyan or karma, any kind of fruitive work, then anukulena krishnanushilanam bhakti ruttama. Anukulena, anu means continuous, nirantar. Anu means anushilan, properly following cultivation of bhakti, and anu means anugatya, following under the guidance of Guru and Vaishnavas. And like a stream of honey that is unbroken, then that's how you can be firmly engaged in this Krishna consciousness, and then that's how you engage all your senses. Otherwise, you'll be bound to be subdued by the urges of the senses. So 61. 62 is Dhyayato Vishayan Pungsa Sangaste Supajayate Sangat Sanchayate Kama Kamat Krodha Vijayate. Why do you have to engage in Bhakti Yoga? Because in the process of Bhakti Yoga, engage your mind in thinking of Krishna. There are 2 instructions of Sastra that are, from those 2 instructions, all the other instructions manifest. There are 2 primary instructions of Sastra in all the different scriptures. What are those? Satatam Smartavya, Satatam Vishnu, Vismartavya Rajatatit, Sarve Vidya Nishedasur, Etavya Vikunkara. All the other instructions of the Sastra are the maid servants of these 2 instructions. Smartavya, Satatam Vishnu, always engage the mind in meditating upon Krishna. Vismartavya Rajatatit, and never forget Krishna. Everything else is the servant and maid servant of this. Why do you have to do this? Because by the engagement of Krishna, by following the process of Krishna consciousness, then you'll become Krishnamoy, completely absorbed in Sri Krishna, and then by that Krishnamoy, then you will attain Krishna's abode. Why? By meditating upon Krishna at the time of death, you will attain Krishna's abode. And by doing it in your life, then naturally it will happen, it will be present with you when you leave this body. And it's described in the last verse of this. Yet, Sthitvasyamantakaalepi Brahma Nirvana Vichati. I don't know if we'll get to that one, but that's verse 72. Esa Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuyati Sthitvasyamantakaalepi Brahma Nirvana Vichati. How do you attain Brahma Nirvana? Gurudev and Prabhupada described. Real Brahma Nirvana means you've passed through the forest of illusion in this samsara. Samsara Dhavanala. You've passed through that forest fire of illusion. That means you've passed the stage of Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Crossed through that, and then Shreya Kairava Chandrika, then everything, your good fortune dawns at that point. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavada Jivanam. So that means you have to, that's Nirvan. Van means forest. So Nirvan means negation. Cross out of that forest of material desires, but we think, oh, I have to negate everything. But the only way to get out of Nirvan, to get Nirvan, which means to leave the material forest, is to enter Vrindavan. That's what Prahlad Maharaj said. This is Prahlad Maharaj's instructions. The Buddhists and the monists, they say Nirvana means, oh, we should enter some kind of void. But the soul is made of consciousness and desire, and we cannot negate that. So the best thing is, we have to engage it properly in our true spiritual nature. And then what is negative will automatically be given up. That's why Prahlad Maharaj said, Tathada manya suravarya dehinam, sadasamadikna hitat Sadasamudigna dhyam asatgrahat hitvat mapatam grihamanda kupam vanam gotoyat dharim ashrayata. Give up your asatgrahat. Give up trying to acquire all these transitory material things. Give up this andakup, this blind well of family life. Grihamanda kupam vanam gotoyat dharim ashrayata. Go to the van and take shelter of Srihari. Where is Srihari present? Vrindavan. So go to Vrindavan. That's the way to attain Nirvana. Otherwise we think Nirvana, I'm going to go in a cave and think about nothing and be nothing, become nothing. Ultimately, you'll perish and then again be born according to your karma in another material yoni. Sankaracharya said, Punarapi jananam, punarapi manam, punarapi chatane api sayanam. Again and again, being born in the womb of mother, being born and then dying, and again being born. This is samsara, the cycle of birth and death. So if you want nirvana, then ese brahmistiti parthast, esa brahmistiti prapya, stvasyamantakalevi brahma nirvanam vrichati. That's the way to attain Brahma Nirvana. Should we stop? We have like 10 more verses. Let's just finish these 2 verses. So, Dhyayato Vishayan Pungsa. By thinking about the object of the senses, lust arises. Sangas Tesu Pajayate. First attachment arises. So that's why I said, always remember Krishna. Yeah, we'll finish here. Always remember Krishna, never forget Him. Why? Because if we don't remember Krishna, we'll think about Maya. Only positive or negative. You're thinking about Krishna, positive. Thinking not to think about Krishna, then the mind cannot remain empty. Kali man saitan gar. An empty mind is the devil's home. Kali man saitan gar or Kali hat saitan gar. Like idle hands, the devil's workshop, they say in English. So either serve Krishna and think about Krishna, or bhakti in the transcendental world, or serve Maya. Prabhupada and Swami Maharaj would say, you should try to perform Krishna bhakti or being Krishna consciousness at least 50% of the day. 12 hours of the day. Why? Then you have a balance. If you increase your Maya percentage, then it's like, we see like on a teeter-totter, you know. When one thing goes down and the other thing goes up, then what happens? It's called the Pareto law. That naturally the other one will go down more and the other one will increase more and then go down more, and finally, Maya will be paramount and Krishna will be insignificant in your life. So if you keep like a basic level, then it's like, okay, you're at the basic level. But really you should try to increase your engagement in Krishna consciousness, 60%, then 40%, then you can gradually increase 62, 63, 64, and then Maya will go down. Why? If you let Maya increase more than your Krishna consciousness, what will happen? Then it's like a snowball effect. But you start engaging Maya more and more, a little bit more, a little bit more. It said you cannot remain stagnant in life or in bhakti. If you're stagnant in your bhakti, then it means you'll end up decreasing your bhakti. So therefore you should always be trying to increase your bhakti. Increase your engagement in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise you think, okay, it's enough. I chanted 2-3 rounds a day, and the rest of the day I'm absorbed in Maya. Then eventually you'll leave sadhusanga, everything, and then you'll be 100% engaged in Maya. It's very difficult to remain like doing a little bit, teeny bit of bhakti. Even though, okay, it's good, you start following bhakti. But really we want to increase our bhakti. We want to increase our engagement in devotional services to the point where we're 100% engaged. Like Gokshalas Bhavaji Maharaj. Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said, I was looking for a guru, but I'm very critical. My nature is that I'm very critical. So he said, I would not take a guru. I saw, even if they were 99.9% engaged in Krishna consciousness, which means like 23.5, you know, like, even if like 5-10 minutes a day they were not in Krishna consciousness, I would not accept them as my guru. This is my nature. What can I do? He said, what can I do? He said, if I saw there's even a little bit of hypocrisy, like nowadays we think guru is very cheap. And okay, they do a few rounds, okay, they are, you know, doing some kirtan program, bhakti program with us. But still, what percentage of their life is absorbed in Sri Krishna service, bhakti, yoga? If you're properly absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna says, Yat karosi yadasnasi yadastahosajasi yadyat tapasvasi kunteya tat kuru svamanarpanam. Whatever you do, do it for me. If you're in family life, okay, make the center of all your activities only me, my Didi form. Uddhava said, how can I be free of Maya when you are going, O Lord? Krishna was going, and Uddhava said, I want to go with you. He said, no, stay behind. He said, how can I remain connected to you? He said, establish my Didi, which is made of 8 different things. You can establish the Didi in the mind, or through any kind of metal, even wood or stone, or even by painting it or by picture. Establish my Didi and make that Didi, or that idol, what does that mean? Like that, make that your pivotal point. Make that your focus, like your pole star. And everything you do should be circumambulating that, doing parikrama of that. All your activities. Okay, you have to do some karma to maintain your family. Then I should offer the best thing from that to Krishna Bhakti, to service of the Vaishnavas. When Purdy would do Bhiksha, we tell devotees, when you work and you get the money from your work, then put the first portion aside for Krishna's seva. Even one palmful of flour, so you get some money from working. Okay, with that money you have to buy some groceries. Then the first little bit, put it aside. And the devotees where you go to Bhiksha, they do like that. Every Dwadasi, like today, everyone's going out on Bhiksha. And all the Grihasthas' homes, if we don't come one time on Dwadasi, which means every 2 weeks, then they get very sad and they come and they complain to Prabhuji, oh, the brahmacharis didn't come to my house. And we had to come here and bring it all. Why? They save some rice, they save some flour, they save some sugar, they save some ghee or some oil. And they give this, and a little bit of money, like 10, 11 rupees. It's not like, oh, sadhus are greedy for wealth. It said, we don't go to, it said, that what is the verse that Yudhisthira Maharaj glorified this Vidura in the Bhagavatam. He said, Sadhu Jan Padagar, that the sadhus do not go here and there for their own benefit. The sadhus only go to help deliver the people. So therefore we see that the sadhus, when we're collecting alms, Param Gurudev went out, Prabhupada said, collect 1 paisa from everyone. He gave him a box with a hole in it, only big enough for 1 paisa, 1/100th of a rupee. And he was such a big personality. He said, the other brahmacharis were saying, we can collect 1 crore from each person. He said, no, then you'll be lazy and you won't want to do any more. In Mathura, Prabhuji would go on Bhiksha, and the other brahmacharis would go. And some people offered to give 20 bags of rice, 20 bags of flour. Oh, in the summertime, they were going with bare feet, and like 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and all day and night out. And Prabhuji would go every day to maintain the mud. There was very few brahmacharis at that time, and everything would be only by Bhiksha. And then when people would see and feel compassion, they'd say, oh, take all this rice, take all this flour. And Gurudev, they came back and told Gurudev, they're offering to maintain the temple year-round. He said, no, you'll be lazy, and also you won't go and help others. You won't help others, you'll become very lazy. So the sadhus, wherever they go, whatever they do is only for, he said, Nija karya nahi jana padagar. They don't go out for their own benefit. So we see in this way that even if you're like a family man, or family member, family person, grihastha, still you can make Krishna the center of your activities. Even when we have to do some work to maintain your life, even sadhus, Krishna says that a real sadhu is not someone who lights no fire or does no work. This is in the 6th chapter. And if a sadhu is always thinking, like so-called sadhu, in their mind they're always thinking of sense objects and sense enjoyment, but externally they're restraining themselves, then they're a cheater. Mitya chara suchite. Better that they engage in some service, some seva. And through that you'll purify your senses and you lose attachment. So this is the process of bhakti yoga, in abhyas yoga. So even though all these desires may come and go, we should try to become detached and always engage as much as we can in Krishna bhakti. One time I was in US after I had stayed here for 6 months. Then I went back to get a new visa. And I wrote Prabhuji and the brahmacharis, through the brahmacharis, I wrote Prabhuji, what should I do? I'm trying to get a 5-year visa. But it's very difficult, maybe I'll only get a 1-year visa. And he said, whatever you should do, whatever you do, try to get at least a 5-year visa. He said, if you're not staying in the Dham and Sadhusanga for 5 years, it's very difficult to make steady advancement. If you're always going, coming, then how can you remain fixed? So he said, okay, you have 1 year, but try to extend it. He was saying, why? You have to follow this process very seriously if you want to make real advancement. You have to be very serious. And then he said, what else did he say? That don't worry about, oh, your senses, you're young now, you have many different desires, I want to do this, I want to do that. He said, these things, it is their nature. These kind of desires will come into the mind by nature. You can't change that. It's like trying to change the law of gravity. But what you can do is you can try to be neutral and indifferent by always engaging them in seva and always engaging them in bhakti. He said, the senses will leave us. Our mind, like when we give up the body, the senses are cheaters and thieves. They'll leave us and go to someone else. So we shouldn't worry about how much I control. We should try to control the senses by engaging them in bhakti yoga, in seva, in bhakti process. All Navadavida bhakti, like Prabhuji was telling us yesterday. Try to engage the senses in bhakti yoga as much as possible. But then, you have many desires come into the mind. They said, don't worry about that. The mind is a rascal. Let it do whatever it wants. But you say okay, whatever you do, mind, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to finish my Harinam. Okay, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to think, I'm going to do my seva. I don't care what you're thinking about. You don't want to go on parikrama? Okay, you go wherever you want, but I'm going on parikrama. You can do what you want. And therefore, Raghunath Das Goswami gave his manashiksha. He said that, he prayed to his mind, holding the feet. He said, dear brother mind, please develop attachment. Swamantra namne in your nam, mantra, in the sadhus. Sadadambang hitva kururitim apurva matitara maya swantar bratas chutur bhyarvyache manaha. With intelligence you should pray to your mind, dear brother, help me engage in bhakti yoga. So this way we try to develop our absorption in Sri Krishna, and I was thinking we might be able to get to all the 18 verses, but it's obviously not possible. So we stop here. Dhyayata vishayan pumsa sangaste subhijayate sangat santayate kama kamat krodha vijayate krodhat bhavati samoha samohat smriti viprama smriti pransat prinasa prinasa pranasati. This is the path of degradation. You contemplate always the object of the senses, attachment must develop. And then by that attachment developing, kama will arise, material lust. And then when you cannot fulfill your desires, krodh, anger will arise. And then krodha bhavati samohat, from krodh, then loss of intelligence. And you become completely bewildered, samohat. Samohat smriti vibrama, then you lose your intelligence and memory. Smriti brahmsat buddhinasa, your intelligence is destroyed. And buddhinasat pranasati. Again, you'll fall down into degraded material life. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, ki jai vancha kalpadribhasya kripa sindhubhyam sa pitalam